it's Miller time, or it's something time. A lot of beer, by the way, will be drunk this week. And by one estimate, some 40% of beer sold in the United States has done so between Memorial Day and Labor Day. That's a lot.
I was surprised to find that out, Carol. Let's get into it with Alex Davidson, Director of Public Affairs at the Beer Institute. Alex joining us this afternoon from Washington, D.C. Alex, good to have you with us. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, you guys. You know, as you said, it's a big weekend for beer, and we view Memorial Day as the beginning of the beer summer. So in 2021, it looks like Nielsen says $2.1 billion of beer was sold in the 2 weeks before Memorial Day. And, you know, we're expecting big numbers this year, and we're looking forward to a great summer.
Is it the same where we were pre-pandemic? Like, how do you think about beer? Like, everybody was drinking, a lot during the pandemic. Like, we've done a million stories about that. So where are you guys, or where's the beer industry in terms of levels pre-pandemic versus today?
Well, that's a really great question. I think that, you know, just to start, I want to say that we've looked at the numbers, and the people that were drinking before pandemic and the people that, you know, there wasn't as much change in habit as we expected, or as that people were saying. So we saw, you know, some people increase their drinking, some people decrease their drinking. The biggest shift that we've seen, however, is, you know, on and off premise. So where people were at bars and restaurants, they moved to drinking at home, and we're still seeing that coming back, but we're seeing a lot of growth there. Obviously, bars and restaurants are really important to the beer industry, and we support our partners in the hospitality industry trying to get people back out there.
Okay, so what about tastes and types of beer? I live in Brooklyn. I've been there for a little over 10 years, and about 10 years ago, you couldn't get something that wasn't IPA in a bar. Mm-hmm. What are trends looking like for the summer of 2022?
I mean, the big thing that we're talking about is innovation. Where, you know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we've seen explosive growth in beer. It's a more competitive, more vibrant economy for beer than it ever has been. You know, there's more than 6,400 breweries all across the country producing more than 20,000 different options for consumers. From an innovation perspective, we're seeing a lot more people moving to non-alc, to low-alc, hard seltzers. And
that's you, Tim, right?
Yeah,
Tim,
the non-alcoholic stuff. We've had the folks at Athletic Brewing on a few times, and yeah, their sales have been huge.
Absolutely. I mean, consumers are looking for more options, and brewers are doing a really good job of giving those options to consumers, whether it is the non-alc or, you know, low, no, the whole variety.
Malt, hops, yeast, stuff that goes into beer. And I'm just curious about, so we talk a lot about, for everyone, these input costs have gone up so much. Tell me a little bit about what are some of the pressures, inflationary pressures, that are potentially facing the nation's beer makers right now, and whether it's actual ingredients to labor.
So brewers obviously are not immune to inflation. It's something that's affecting every segment of the economy right now. And the biggest input cost for beer is actually aluminum. We are seeing, you know, significant aluminum cost price issues just, you know, originating from Trump's tariffs that he put on. And that's in addition to, you know, normal supply chain issues, labor shortages, increased transportation costs. So we're looking at all of those together as we produce beer. And, you know, these are important things for, you know, manufacturing, but also consumers. Consumers are feeling the pinch right now, and we're trying to keep prices low.
Are your members passing along the costs? Are they able to, or are they starting to increasingly feel like they cannot?
So like many other businesses, you know, they are feeling those cost increases, and we're happy to say, you know, beer prices have consistently gone up at a lower rate than inflation. Mm-hmm. So while overall inflation is at 8.3 and, you know, food items are at 9.4, beer is not at those numbers. So they've been able to, you know, try and keep those prices for consumers low.
So companies are eating the costs, it sounds like. Is that fair, Alex?
I think, you know, especially when it comes to aluminum, it's something we've seen a lot of. You know, whatever they can do to make sure that consumers have access to the beer that they, you know, they know and they love, and especially, you know, come summertime.
Alex, the Beer Institute is the trade association that represents America's brewers. I'm wondering what changes you're actively lobbying for right now on Capitol Hill.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, like I said, is aluminum tariffs. We recently ran the numbers, and since 2018, brewers and beverage producers have paid an additional $1.4 billion in tariffs. Wow. And this is in addition to, you know, all of their normal costs. That's money that, you know, these are brewers, both big and small, paying these costs over time.
And what's the political will to do something on this? I mean, is it? Is it China the largest producer, I believe, followed by, I think it might be India, Russia?
So a lot of our aluminum, especially what we're using as brewers, comes from Canada. A lot of it is recycled content, and unfortunately, I think these tariffs have missed the mark on that front. Where they expected it to go, it's having unintended consequences, and the aluminum that we're buying, whether or not it's subject to tariff, we end up paying a tariff price.
What are the other changes that you're lobbying for apart from the tariffs on aluminum being lifted? What other changes do you want to see made on Capitol Hill?
So one of the biggest things that we lobbied for the last few years was lowering the excise tax on alcohol. Beer is one of the most taxed products, in the American marketplace. 40% of beer's cost is taxes. And by reducing taxes a few years ago, we were able to reinvest in our businesses, create jobs. There are now more than 2 million Americans whose jobs rely on beer. And we want to make sure that those rates don't change. We want to make sure that hospitality industry is supported. As I said, beer is sold in bars and restaurants, sporting events, live venues, and we want to make sure that they have the support they need to get back to pre-pandemic levels.
When you talk to your members, what is, you think, the biggest trend right now when it comes to innovation, evolution of the beer industry? We just talked to somebody, we were talking about the cannabis market. I'm just curious, is it that area, which we've been talking about for a while? What is it?
I think it's what we talked about earlier. It's non-alcoholic beers. It's low. It's we're seeing zero carb beers. We're seeing zero alcohol beers, but we're also seeing new flavors, new styles. We've seen the increase in nitro beers, and we still have hard seltzers. There's a lot of opportunities. I think cannabis is something that we haven't really broached yet. Obviously there's a political landscape there, but no, there's more options than ever, and it's a really diverse field.
What about when it comes to flavor profiles, though, and to different types of craft beers? Apart from the, health part of it, the no alcohol, low alcohol, what are the trends that we expect to see just in the last 30 seconds that we have?
Absolutely. So over the last few years, obviously there was a huge rise in IPAs. This summer season, we're seeing a lot more of, strongly flavored beverages and the rise of, just more variety in the marketplace. And I think that's what we're going to continue to see.
All right, we're going to leave it on that note. Listen, have a great holiday weekend. Alex Davidson, Director of Public Affairs at the Beer Institute, on the phone from Washington, D.C. All right.